What's going on, everybody? So, it seems like the day has finally arrived, the time of judgment, aka the Switch 2 launch. A lot of people are jumping in line to get the opportunity to cover this or play it because they've been either curious, skeptical, Nintendo fans, or they're just impulse buyers. And I should understand, I'm an impulse buyer. I went to GameStop, even though that GameStop was horrendous, just to pre order a Nintendo Switch 2 for myself. And luckily, I live pretty much in the middle of nowhere, so I was able to actually get a pre order. So, when the time came, I canceled the pre-order and I eventually got it at Walmart. But a lot of people are saying they're receiving broken Nintendo Switch 2s. And it seems like there's a lot of bad news coming in about the Nintendo Switch 2, which nobody could have saw coming, right? Because the whole thing began with red flags after red flags. And now after the launch, people are saying that GameStop is stapling Switch 2 screens. Now you have that, so I'm very lucky that I canceled my GameStop pre-order at the very last minute to get it for an attempted free-for-all at Walmart. That was pretty exciting, but a lot of people were pissed off because Walmart didn't form a line until the very last second, so tons of people were just pushing each other and squeezing into lines, but nothing as bad as Black Friday, or at least Black Friday before COVID. So receiving a broken Nintendo Switch 2 would have been a bad thing, but it makes me think of the warning that Nintendo suddenly and randomly dropped involving the screen and that little protective layer on top of the Nintendo Switch 2's display, similar to the Nintendo Switch OLED. It seemed pretty random, but now I know they were probably receiving reports about broken Nintendo Switch 2 screens. But besides that, some users are actually reporting that their Nintendo Switch 2s are overheating. That's very surprising considering how thin the Switch 2 is and what it can do. Playing games at 4K requires a lot of processing power from the CPU and GPU together. So no doubt some parts in the Switch 2 will start to overheat. That's no surprise to me considering JSOX announced a little portable fan for the Nintendo Switch along with the mod case, similar to the Steam Deck. And the first Steam Deck LCD models used to overheat all the time. I actually had a fan for my Steam Deck along with the mod case because that thing would reach 101 degrees Celsius. It was extremely hot to the touch. So to get a system like the ROG Ally that has two fans and barely gets hot or makes any noises, the Steam Deck was pretty scary to have. But the Nintendo Switch 2 actually does get pretty hot, especially after you dock the system. I have some concerns about undocking the system and playing it right away, because you could have just came from a 5-hour session docked with the dock's fan blasting and then just go right ahead and continue playing portable in case somebody needs to use their TV or you need to move to a different room. Chances are it's going to be extremely hot after you've docked it and played in 4K for quite a while, so I can see that being a situation where overheating might happen. But that was something I predicted months ago. So it's really no surprise to me. That's why I play my Switch 2, but I don't play it that much. And even though I don't play it as much as I want to, it still gets pretty hot for me. But not only that, in just day one, people are reporting that certain Switch 1 games and even Switch 2 games, namely the Mario Kart World digital codes included in the Nintendo Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle, aren't working, or Nintendo's saying that they're not valid. And this is even after 12 a.m. yesterday. But not only that, games like Batman Arkham Knight are crashing randomly on people because I guess that's one of the games that are having issues on the Switch 2, and there are a lot of games that are confirmed to have issues on the Switch 2, according to Nintendo. So we might be seeing more frequent crashes. But for the good news, backwards compatibility for me anyway is amazing. I've been testing a bunch of Nintendo Switch 1 games like Bayonetta 3, Sonic X Shadow Generations, and like 20 other games, but from those two games alone I can tell you that the performance boost is noticeable. And it's because of that translation layer included in the Nintendo Switch 2's software. I'm assuming there were a lot more games that weren't compatible when they shipped off the Nintendo Switch 2, so this update is adding more compatibility, kind of similar to Proton with the Steam Deck. But at least Valve has a proper verification system. I mean, it's not that proper, but at least they have some kind of symbol to tell us what works, what doesn't, because most people are not going to go back to that website to check exactly where it is, and it's kind of convoluted to even look at it. There's some kind of graph they show you, there's 2 PDF files that you can look at, but it's a very, very long list, so it would be great if Nintendo came up with some kind of verification system similar to the Steam Deck and SteamOS, but I guess that would be too ironic. But yeah, it seems like I was right about the Nintendo Switch 2. I just saw these being realistic problems, namely the overheating. I think the backwards compatibility was a known issue among everybody because most people looked at that list. But nonetheless, I hope the Nintendo Switch 2 does very well, and I hope there are a lot of interesting games to be released for the Switch 2. So far, the launch games are incredible. I'm having an amazing time with Street Fighter 6. It's the best version for me personally. And Cyberpunk 2077 is unbelievable. It looks incredible, it plays very well, but most importantly, it looks incredible. But yeah, guys, how are you enjoying your Nintendo Switch 2s? And let me know in the comments below if you play your Switch 2 more in docked mode or handheld mode. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the video. Later.